Hey, what's the word, players? So this is gonna be a bit of a different video because as of May 5th, 2023, I've now been a baptized Christian for 10 years, which is crazy to think about. So I just want to take this time to reflect and share my testimony. So I guess this is a little bit about me. So to start off, I have an older sister, amazing sister, best in the whole world. And we are born to two deaf parents. So I know sign language. So while my sister lived with my grandparents to continue school, I lived with my mom and dad. Before I started going to school to learn how to speak, I actually picked up a lot of my language learning through watching a lot of TV and playing games. That could have gone so many different ways, but luckily it actually turned out well for me. Gaming completely shaped my childhood. One, because like I said, I learned a lot of English through playing games. But also, I just have so many memories. My first gaming console was the SEGA Saturn, and the earliest games that I remember playing on that were Sonic 3D Blast, Virtua Fighter 2, Virtual On, that's a deep cut, and Bug 2. And then I would eventually go on to own the PS1 and the GameCube, or the Game Boy Color from the 5th console generation, and from the 6th generation upwards, I pretty much made it a goal to try to own as many consoles as possible. I wasn't a fanboy or anything. I saw that every game had their own merit, and to be honest with you, I was a Sega fanboy, but Sega dropped out of the console race to just focus on games. So at that point, I had no allegiance to any particular console. I love Nintendo, I love Sony, and even though Microsoft was always the least of my priorities, just because like not a lot of their exclusives grabbed my attention outside maybe Halo, I also saw merit with Xbox. So yeah, my goal was just to try to play as many games as possible. And how I found out about games was I would just get a bunch of gaming magazines, some Game Informer, Nintendo Power, and of course G4 in the 2000s. I would also do this thing where with every game that I bought, I tried to get the strategy guide to go with it. Man, I was crazy about games back then. It shaped my childhood and it pretty much shaped my identity. And to be honest, it was pretty much my only identity. I did not grow up in a Christian household. The only time I really went to church was whenever we would visit my grandparents. My grandma would occasionally take us to her church, but it wasn't a thing in my household. It wasn't until I was starting high school when my sister, who was in college at the time, invited me to go to church with her. It was quite a different experience, especially coming from the only church experience that I had coming from my grandma's church. This one was a lot bigger. There was a huge production value to it, especially since it was televised. Yeah, it was huge. And there was one moment that I vividly remember. There was one service, it was toward the end, and the pastor was doing an altar call. And he said a thing where, I don't remember the exact words, but he said, if you were to go outside right now and get hit by a truck, you're going straight to hell. I thought he was talking to me. Like that scared the mess out of me. So from that, I decided to go up and pray Jesus into my heart and go and get baptized. That marked the moment where I was a Christian, but really I did not know what that meant. I was just mostly scared at that idea of, going to hell. So I didn't know what it meant to be a Christian, but it seemed to make my sister happy. And like I said, I loved my sister. We were super close. And so if it made her happy, that's all that really mattered. We were going to church together, me and her. Fast forward when I would start going to college. It was my freshman year. And I remember I had a prayer one night. God, I wish I could meet just one Christian friend. Because at the time, I really didn't know any other young people that were also Christians. I think there was like one guy who I accidentally bumped into at church who was actually from my high school. So I mean, that was one, but I think he went off to a different college. And yeah, I didn't really know any other young people my age that were also Christians. So that was like the end of my first semester. Go on to my second semester. There was one day where I was just sitting out in the hallway. Oh, and I guess I forgot to mention the school that I went to was College of DuPage. Go Chaparrals. Yeah, I was sitting in the hallway with my friends, and all of a sudden there was this group of people that came up and said, hey, we're having a Bible study in the cafeteria. Would anyone like to join us? My friends at the time, who were only gamers, they all said no. But deep in my mind, I was thinking, wait, Is this the opportunity? Is this the prayer that I asked for? But because my friend said no, I, not wanting to seem weird, also said no. But I was just beating myself up about it, like, oh, what? This is the prayer that I asked for. So what I did was I waited until those guys went around the corner, and then I told my friends, like, hey, I gotta get ready for my next class, even though I think I was done for the day. And I followed them, and then I asked them, like, hey, I'm sorry, you said there was like a Bible study thing? Like, what's that about? Or sorry, not Bible study, but Bible talk. And I ended up missing it because I had a class during that time, but I still, went to see if there was anyone still sticking around. Luckily there were. Yeah, I met a couple of the guys there. They invited me to do a Bible study. At this point, I already considered myself a Christian. I was already going to church. I took Bible classes. So I felt like I knew enough of the Bible already. So I went into this thinking that I was going to hear anything that I haven't heard before. Buddy, I was convicted. We did the Berean study, which I will post the verse up here on screen, and it made me realize, wow, I actually don't know the Bible as well as I thought I did. It shocked me. The funny thing was, these guys that were putting together this Bible talk and the Bible study with me, they were only there for that week. They were students, but from Michigan, and this was the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. They drove from miles to spend their spring break sharing the gospel to complete strangers. It was crazy. So I wanted to follow up with them and have another Bible study, but that was the last day that they were going to be there. But they directed me to someone that lives in town and would be able to follow up with me. And so they got me in touch with the campus minister, and we got together with some of the guys. They studied the Bible with me. They invited me out to the church, and this was a kind of a tough moment because this was a bit of a transition from me attending church with my sister to me sort of coming into my own, developing my own walk with God, not out of fear of getting hit by a truck, not out of trying to impress my sister to make her happy, but out of me having my own convictions and having my own relationship with God. So after a few Bible studies, I had decided, you know what, it's time. I have to make Jesus Lord. I made Jesus Lord by just praying him to my heart out of fear, not knowing the Bible. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But now after knowing what he's done and really just reading the scriptures to make me understand this is what being a Christian is like, and this is what Christ did, that was when I made the decision to get baptized in Christ and to make it once and for all. So on May 5th, 2013 was when I got baptized into Christ, and haven't looked back since. So yeah, I've been a part of this for 10 years now. Life's been crazy, man. It's not all sunshines and rainbows. You see people that are close to you, walk away from the faith, just different life changes. But yeah, man, now I'm a married guy. Man, when I got baptized 10 years ago, I was a freshman in college, and now I'm developing gray hairs. Like, what the heck, man? Time is wild. So that leads into the creation of this channel. Why do I do this? Honestly, I've always watched YouTube. Like, I was there from the beginning, but I never really thought about making my own videos. I was just more content to watching stuff. But it wasn't until I got baptized I have the possibility of reaching gamers. Gamers tend to have a contentious relationship with religion. First thing I can think of was the whole parents scare with the whole Pokemon craze, and Pokemons are demons or whatever. I wasn't really into Pokemon, and my parents were religious, so that didn't apply to me, but I remember hearing that Doom is ruining kids and just all sorts of stuff. In my experience, both from the friends that I had, from meeting people, and from what I've seen online, gamers just don't like religion or Christianity. And so me, a gamer who's also a Christian, felt very isolated, because while I was with other gamers, I felt like I had to sort of downplay the whole Christian side of myself. And when I'm with other Christians, outside of other Christians that are also gamers, I had to downplay the gaming part of myself. So I felt like I wasn't really showing the complete version of myself. So with this channel, I just wanted to show, hey, you can be a Christian and you can also be a gamer. You don't have to choose one or the other. And it's funny because I've had this idea for a while, but it wasn't until 2020 happened when we were all stuck in our homes, we couldn't go anywhere, that this really took off. Or rather, that's when I started streaming more, because I just dipped my toes into streaming and at the end of 2019. But 2020, I was completely focused on streaming, and eventually I got into YouTube. It's been cool seeing people be surprised that, here's this guy that talks about, fighting games, talks about platformers, RPGs, and games that you don't normally think about, Christians playing, but he'll also bring up scriptures and stuff like that. It's been cool reading comments of other Christian gamers that are like, dude, I never thought I'd meet another Christian gamer. And it's even cool, hearing people that are gamers but aren't affiliated with Christianity, but go, that's pretty cool. I didn't think there would be anyone like that. So that's what I do. That's the wordplay in a nutshell. Also, I mentioned this in a different video, but the wordplay has its interesting story because I, for the longest time, wanted to be a game developer. In fact, I still have a small hope of being at least an indie developer. I was trying to come up with a name, and the name of my game company that I wanted to start was called Wordplay Games. Wordplay would have been a reference to the word, which is God's word, and play for both video games. So Wordplay Games was the name of a game company that I wanted to start. Fast forward to when I started streaming on Twitch, and I think I still had the name Wordplay Games as my Twitch name originally. Then when I wanted to transition to YouTube, Wordplay Games was already taken or something like that. So that's when I came up with the Wordplay, and now that's stuck. And that's what I go by. It's really cool hearing people say that they love the name because there's so many layers of wordplay that the wordplay has. Now I'm just rambling at this point. That's my testimony. That's how I became a Christian. That's how this channel got started. If there's anything to leave with you, you can be a faithful disciple and you can also enjoy video games. The key thing is that games can't be an idol. Games can replace God, but you can enjoy them while still loving him. If you're interested in going to a non-denominational church that will show you God's word and live it, down in the description will be a link to church locator. If you're interested in studying the Bible or you just want to hang out, play games, follow me on Discord. Link will also be down below. Once again, guys, appreciate you sticking around to the end of this video. Take care. Until next time. Peace.